Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are this morning's headlines. Voting underway for the fifth and penultimate phase of elections in West Bengal. 53 constituencies spread across 3 districts polling today. President Pranab Mukherjee arrives in New Zealand on the second leg of his two-nation tour. On Friday, India and Papua New Guinea signed 4 MOUs in the fields of agriculture, health, information technology and infrastructure. Centre rebuts allegations that Prime Minister Narendra Modi struck a deal with Italy in Augusta-Westland case. CBI to question former Air Chief and former Deputy Air Chief in the scam. Central Information Commission directs universities of Delhi and Gujarat to respond to RTI applications in connection with the Prime Minister's educational qualifications. Asks PMO to cooperate. And Maharashtra to file review petition in the Supreme Court on National Eligibility Entrance Test to go ahead with state medical entrance exam on May 5th. Well, let's begin the bulletin with the latest from West Bengal. Well, voting for the fifth and penultimate phase of polling is underway in West Bengal today. 53 constituencies spread across the districts of South 24 Parganas, Kolkata and Hooghly are voting today. 349 candidates are in the fray, including 43 women candidates and at least 43 other millennial candidates. Among the prominent leaders, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee will face Congress leader Deepa Das Munshi and Chandra Bose from the BJP from the Bhawanipur constituency. 90,000 personnel of 680 companies of central and state police forces have been deployed for the election. Prohibitory orders are in place in the constituencies that are polling today. 2 police observers are present in each district to monitor the law and order situation, while the Election Commission has identified over 4,000 vulnerable areas. Meanwhile, the Left Front has requested the Commission to seal interstate borders.
एकदम कंफर्ट बहुत अच्छा है ऐसा रहेगा तो कोई झमेला नहीं होना चाहिए
स्वच्छ होना चाहिए निष्पक्ष होना चाहिए चुनाव यही है उम्मीद तो यही है आगे देखिए क्या होता है
जो चोरी चमारा नहीं करता है वो इसी हमारा कैंडिडेट होना चाहिए चोर लोग को हमको अच्छा नहीं लगता
Joining me live from Kolkata is our correspondent Panchanan Mishra. Panchanan, what's the situation like in West Bengal at the moment? What's happening on the ground?
Yeah, Frank, you can see the large queues behind me for the casting of the vote. The voters in the large number are here since morning. Since you can say the voting was not beginning, but you can see the large number of people are here to cast their vote, to exercise their franchisee. It's really a good sign for democracy, Frank. In West Bengal, the polling is very much high on the ground, and the Election Commission is also very vigilant regarding the security. That's what the reason the voters are coming from home and they are voting in large numbers. Yes, yeah, Frank.
Indeed, it seems like there are serpentine queues there in West Bengal. People have come out in large numbers early in the morning to come out and cast their vote. But as far as security is concerned, what kind of arrangements have been made so as to ensure smooth and fair polling?
Elaborate security arrangements have been made. Heavy paramilitary deployment is here. I think this West Bengal poll will be remembered for this heavy security deployment. And you can say in the recently held Assam elections, in 2 phases where the paramilitary forces were established there by 400 companies. But in this single phase, in this 53 seats, more than 600 companies of paramilitary forces has been deployed. That shows how desperate is the Election Commission is to go for free and fair elections. But the security arrangements are really very high here.
All right, Panchanan Mishra, thank you so much for joining us there with all those details and bringing us up to date with what's happening there on the ground in West Bengal. Meanwhile, the government has rolled back its decision to lower interest rate on Provident Fund deposits. It has now fixed it at 8.8% from the earlier 8.7% after protests by trade unions. The rollback comes on the heels of government having to withdraw an order restricting withdrawals of employers' share in the Employee Provident Fund till an employee achieves 58 years of age. Last month, the government had to roll back the budget proposal to tax EPF withdrawals. The rollback comes in the backdrop of a nationwide protest by 10 central trade unions opposing the Finance Ministry's decision to lower EPF interest rate by 10 basis points. The Finance Ministry, however, has said that Employees Provident Fund Organization should create a reserve fund to protect the interest of over 5 crore subsidiaries from falling interest rate regime.
ये कभी भी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस एडवाइस करता है ये ईपीएफओ हमारा एक्ट है, ये हमारे वर्करों का है, ये ऑटोनमस बॉडी है, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ओवरऑल इंटरेस्ट में वो एडवाइस करता है, हम भी एडवाइस लेते हैं। तो उन्होंने पहले ही जब इंटरेस्ट रेट जब गिर रहा है तो उस समय उन्होंने हमको एक चिट्ठी लिखा है, वो चिट्ठी के जो है उसमें हम लोग ध्यान लेकर फिर हम लोग ये निर्णय किया है।
Meanwhile, the centre has rebutted allegations that Prime Minister Narendra Modi had struck a deal with Italy on the Augusta-Westland case. In a late-night statement, the government said that the central issue in the matter was corruption and any other effort to divert from it was misleading. The statement further termed attempts to link National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister Nripendra Mishra to one of the accused as a totally baseless assertion and indicative of malicious intent. The government statement said, and I quote, "Those who cannot see Prime Minister succeed even hint at him cutting a deal. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Prime Minister Modi did not cut any deal of any sort," unquote. The statement further said that those making allegations don't admit corruption. They instead boldly proclaim, "Catch us if you can." The centre further added that it has taken effective action to bring out the truth and will leave no stone unturned in pursuing all means to bring to justice the corrupt and wrongdoers in this case. Meanwhile, the CBI has called for questioning former Air Chief SP Tyagi and former Deputy Air Chief JS Gujral in connection with the probe into the alleged corruption in the 3,600 crore rupees Augusta-Westland VVIP chopper deal. PTI is quoting CBI sources that Air Marshal retired Gujral has been asked to appear for questioning today, while Tyagi will be examined on Monday. Both have been questioned at length in 2013, but the fresh round of questioning was necessitated after April 7th order of the Italian court. The CBI, which has received a copy of the Milan court order, has now prepared a fresh set of questionnaire on the basis of the decision to put Tyagi and Gujral for questioning. Now, Tyagi has denied allegations against him. CBI has so far maintained that Gujral was questioned as witness but remains tight-lipped if he will still retain the same status. CBI had registered a case against Tyagi along with 13 others, including his cousins and European middlemen in the case. Well, the BJP has intensified its attack on the Congress President Sonia Gandhi over the VVIP chopper scam. Party President Amit Shah has posed questions to Sonia Gandhi, asking her to explain the number of relaxations allegedly given to Augusta-Westland. Shah alleged that it compromised India's interests. Shah asked the Congress chief to explain why did the then UPA government go ahead with the deal despite reports of bribery appearing in the Italian media soon after. He also questioned why the deal was put on hold only in 2013 after corruption was proved. On the other hand, the Congress dared the government to come out with the truth and the deal in the next 2 months instead of issuing threats and launching a malicious campaign against it. Taking a dig at the Prime Minister, senior party leader Ghulam Nabi Azad claimed that the entire government has been tasked to target the Congress and its leadership day in and day out.
मैं इतना पूछना चाहता हूं श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी से कि किसके इशारे पर ये परमिशन उनको दी गई, किसके इशारे पर उनको टेक्निकली क्वालिफाइड पाया गया और टेंडर की शर्तों के साथ ये जो छेड़खानी हुई है वो किसके इशारे पर हुई है।
जिन्होंने इस डील में पैसा लिया है, कितना लिया है, कहां लिया है, क्यों लिया है, कैसे लिया है, अगर इस गवर्नमेंट में दम है तो अगले 2 महीनों के अंदर अंदर ये मॉनसून सेशन में इसी सदन में बता दे।
Meanwhile, the Central Information Commission has directed the universities of Delhi and Gujarat to respond to all RTI applications in connection with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's educational qualifications. The CIC also asked the Prime Minister's office to provide specific number and year of the degrees of the Prime Minister to the varsities to enable them in locating it faster. This after Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal wrote to the Information Commission demanding Prime Minister Narendra Modi's educational qualification to be made public. The letter is being treated as an RTI query as it is appropriate to disclose information when asked for by a Chief Minister. Prime Minister Modi had declared while contesting the 2014 Lok Sabha elections that he has a BA degree from the Delhi University and a Master's from the Gujarat University. However, when RTI were filed on the Prime Minister's degrees earlier, DU said it didn't have any details needed to track down such information. Meanwhile, after completing his 2-day tour of Papua New Guinea, President Pranab Mukherjee arrived in New Zealand today for a 3-day tour. This is the first ever state visit by an Indian president to New Zealand. During his visit, President will meet the Governor-General, the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition besides addressing a gathering of top New Zealand businessmen. The two countries will look at prospects for cooperation in agriculture, dairy, food processing, education and skill development as well as high technology. On Friday, India and Papua New Guinea boosted their bilateral ties as the two nations signed 4 MOUs in areas of agriculture, health, information technology and infrastructure.
In a major boost to bilateral ties between India and Papua New Guinea, the two sides signed 4 MOUs in areas of agriculture, health, information technology and infrastructure. The MOUs were signed in the presence of President Pranab Mukherjee and the Papua New Guinea Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. Under one of the MOUs, India will provide a line of credit of $100 million for specific projects in transport and infrastructure sectors in Papua New Guinea. An MOU on health covers areas such as public health, HR and training, medical services, disease control and prevention. Another MOU envisages establishment of a center of excellence in information technology in Papua New Guinea. The fourth MOU delineates all-round cooperation in agriculture research and training. In a joint statement, the two sides also highlighted various international and regional issues, including terrorism, India's candidature for permanent membership of the UN Security Council, and maritime security. The president also visited the University of Papua New Guinea and addressed the students and faculty there. Mukherjee paid his respects at the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at the university. The president also laid floral wreath at a memorial in Port Moresby War Cemetery to pay tribute to the Indian soldiers killed during World War II in Papua New Guinea. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Math phobia is developing because they don't relate to mathematics to the world around them. For teachers, our math teaching has to change. If a child has not understood, we have to explain it in a different word. Need for math is felt in the much larger segment.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Rajiva Karandikar, Director at Chennai Mathematical Institute, only on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the Bombay High Court on Friday ordered the Union Environment Ministry to demolish the 31-storied Adarsh Cooperative Housing Society, saying it was illegally constructed. The court ruled that the demolition should be carried out at the expense of the petitioners, the Adarsh Society. The court also ordered inquiry against politicians, ministers and officers involved in the scam and gave Adarsh Society 12 weeks' time to appeal to the Supreme Court against the order. The High Court was hearing a petition filed by the society which claims that they had followed all the rules and the building stood on state's land. The multi-crore Adarsh scam unearthed in November 2010 had sparked a political controversy in Maharashtra, leading to resignation of then Chief Minister Ashok Chauhan, whose name appeared in the CBI charge sheet.
The Honourable Court has directed that Adarsh CHS should be demolished. The illegal building should be demolished with a period of 4 weeks. Further, the court also directed the petitioners, other CHS, to pay costs of 1 lakh rupees each to each of the respondents in the matter.
मैं समझता हूं कि हमारे साथ में अन्याय हुआ है, क्योंकि हमारे नेवी आर्मी मिलिट्री के कई ऑफिसर हैं जो बेघर हो गए हैं आज की तारीख में। जिसने बॉर्डर के ऊपर जिसने युद्ध किया है, जिसने जिंदगी बिताई है, जिसने बैंकिंग से लोन लिया हुआ है, वो सब फैमिली ये डिमोलेशन का ऑर्डर के बाद में बहुत चिंतित हो गए हैं।
आई एम रियली वेरी मच हैप्पी। Since day one, I was fighting against the Adarsh scheme. It should be demolished because Adarsh was nothing but a monument of political corruption in Maharashtra.
Any other construction, if there has been a violation of the provisions of law, of the orders of the Environment Ministry or any other statutory orders, they have to dealt with the most firm manner, and that's what the court has ruled.
In other news now, protesting ex-servicemen demanding complete implementation of one rank, one pension have suspended their agitation. Ex-servicemen suspended their 320-day-old agitation as senior lawyer Ram Jethmalani assured them of leading their legal battle in the Supreme Court. Jethmalani promised to fight their case pro bono while the armed forces veterans were staging a protest at Jantar Mantar. A case is likely to be filed next week. 4 more cases, including disability pension, were earlier filed in the Armed Forces Tribunal. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar had in September last year announced implementation of the long-delayed OROP for ex-servicemen, but the veterans have been continuing with their protest demanding complete implementation of the scheme. Meanwhile, the Delhi government has said that the third edition of the odd-even scheme will be implemented only after analysing the report of its 6-member committee and surveys of media organisations on the ongoing second phase of the car rationing plan. The government's move came a day after Delhi Transport Minister Gopal Rai appealed to newsmakers and news channels to conduct an open survey on the existing odd-even scheme. Rai also alleged that a conspiracy is being hatched to sabotage the scheme. The Delhi government has constituted a 6-member committee to study the impact of the opening of schools and hot weather during the scheme. The committee will suggest when the government should implement the next edition of the scheme. The government is also strengthening the public transport system by introducing new buses so that people won't have to face problems in the next phase of the odd-even scheme. Meanwhile, Maharashtra will file a review petition in the Supreme Court with regard to the National Eligibility Entrance Test. The state has said students aspiring for admission to medical courses should appear for the state's medical entrance examination, MHCET, on May 5th. Maharashtra Medical Education Minister Vinod Tawde has said that the MHCET will be held as per schedule. Tawde said those who appear for the NEET can also appear for the May 5th MHCET. In its review petition, the state will argue before the Apex Court that the students from HSC State Board appearing for the 85% of the state-level admission quota seats will not be able to compete with the students from CBSE boards in the NEET because of the different syllabus. Meanwhile, on Friday, the Supreme Court asked entrance examination for MBBS and BDS courses to go ahead as planned in 2 phases on May 1st and July 24th. A request by the Union government to hold the exam on a single date on July 24th was turned down after the Supreme Court said it would not go into the issue of modification in due course after the concerned parties filed their applications in this regard.
The Union government moved the Supreme Court on Friday seeking modification of Thursday's order allowing state governments and private colleges to hold separate entrance examinations for MBBS and BDS courses for the academic year 2016-17. Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi said there were some genuine difficulties in holding a 2-phased single common entrance test for MBBS, BDS and PG courses through the National Eligibility Entrance Test on May 1st and July 24th. So all the students be allowed to take the exam on July 24th. But the request was turned down.
So far as the prayer before the Honorable Supreme Court is that to constitute the bench and to rehear the matter. And I have been informed that the Honorable Supreme Court has refused to constitute the bench as of now. There is no bench which is being constituted. The examination as slated on 1st May 2016 will take place. This will be the first phase of NEET examination. NEET is basically National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test. You will acquire eligibility only when you take the test. And there will be second phase which will take place in July. As of now, there is no change in this situation.
Earlier, MPs cutting across party lines opposed holding of the first phase of common entrance test on May 1st, saying it gives little time to students. Some of the MPs also demanded that states be given time till 2018 to adapt.
आपके माध्यम से सरकार से अपेक्षा है कि जो कल 1 मई का है, इस टेस्ट को जो 2 है कि नेशनल एलिजिबिलिटी कम एंट्रेंस टेस्ट 1 और 2, इसको दोनों को कंबाइंड करके एक साथ 24 जुलाई को हो जाए, जिससे कि 17 अगस्त के रिजल्ट में आ जाए।
पहली रिक्वेस्ट ये है कि ये 2018 को करने की दिशा में केंद्र सरकार द्वारा इस बारे में स्पेशल लीव पिटीशन अगर सरकार लाएगी तो कुछ ना कुछ मदद होगी। अगर ये बात नहीं हो सकती है अध्यक्ष जी, तो कम से कम 3 महीने का समय, यानी 24 जुलाई को जो एग्ज़ाम है, उस 24 जुलाई के एग्ज़ाम में कम से कम सभी लोगों को अपेयर होने का मौका मिले।
सारे राज्यों में इसको प्रखर विरोध हो रहा है। मैं आपके माध्यम से HRD मिनिस्टर को कहती हूँ, सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे जाए, ये निर्णय आपका है, उसको हम उसकी सराहना करते हैं, लेकिन एक बात ध्यान में रखें, ये 2018 से इसे लागू करें।
The Supreme Court had ordered on Thursday that the National Eligibility Entrance Test, or NEET, be held in 2 phases. But the decision was opposed by some states, which said it was illegal and unconstitutional. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, a helicopter ferrying passengers from a Norwegian oil platform crashed in the North Sea, killing at least 11 of the 13 people on board. The 11 passengers and 2 crew on the flight from the Gullfaks B oil platform operated by Statoil were all Norwegian except for 1 British and 1 Italian national, according to the Rescue Coordination Centre for Southern Norway. After several hours searching for survivors, 11 bodies were found and the remaining 2 people have been presumed dead. Plumes of smoke rose from the scene in a stretch of sea with many small islands. Several witnesses told Norwegian media they saw the rotors separate from the helicopter while still in the air. The area just west of Bergen, Norway's second largest city, has frequent helicopter traffic to and from offshore oil installations. Weather conditions on the day were normal. Norway's king and the Prime Minister expressed condolences to the families of the victims. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has released a final report on the deadly US airstrike in Kunduz in Afghanistan last October. The report states that the incident was caused by human errors and compounded by process and equipment failures. The US aerial gunship attack on a hospital in Afghanistan that killed 42 people occurred because of human errors, process mistakes and equipment failures, and none of the air crew knew they were striking a trauma center, according to a top US general. Investigators concluded that certain personnel failed to comply with the rules of engagement and the law of armed conflict. However, they also determined that these failures did not amount to a US war crime. The US has expressed deepest condolences to those injured and to the families of those killed.
Importantly, the investigation concluded that the personnel involved did not know they were striking a medical facility. The intended target was an insurgent-controlled site, which was approximately 400 meters from the Doctors Without Borders Trauma Center. The investigation found that an AC-130 gunship aircrew in support of a U.S. Special Forces element that was supporting an Afghan partner ground force misidentified and struck the Doctors Without Borders Trauma Center.
Well, let's now get you a roundup of the other international news in our World Wrap. At least 4 people died and dozens are missing in Guatemala City after a collapse at the capital's largest garbage dump. People sifting through the dump, which receives about 500 truckloads of trash every day, were caught unawares when part of the massive heap of garbage caved in. Rescue teams arrived at the scene after the collapse and reported that 24 people are still unaccounted for. Amongst those missing are people who entered the dump illegally in search of items for resale. Many residents of the Syrian city of Palmyra are still unable to return home due to damaged local infrastructure. Almost all of Palmyra's buildings were destroyed after the war and essentially no residents live within the city. A bus route from Homs to Palmyra was opened after the city was recaptured, but the only residents who returned were those who had come to sort out their possessions. The city suffered heavy damage when it was occupied by the militant group Islamic State in May 2015. Rescue work of the relics started this year on March 27th after the city was recaptured by Syrian government forces. A group of negotiators met in Minsk to discuss a settlement to the conflict in eastern Ukraine. They agreed on a new effort to adhere to a ceasefire ahead of Orthodox Easter. Fighting in eastern Ukraine between pro-Russian separatists and Ukrainian government forces has intensified in recent weeks, with frequent ceasefire violations and casualties. According to Kiev, 20 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in March and 17 since early April. However, the sides did not manage to agree on a prisoner exchange, another of the clauses in the Minsk ceasefire agreement signed in February 2015. Captain Kristen Griest became the U.S. Army's first female infantry officer this week, in a milestone for the U.S. military as it opens up combat roles for women. Griest was one of two women who made history last year after becoming one of the first female soldiers to pass the Army's grueling course to qualify for the elite Rangers unit. Earlier this month, the Army said it had approved requests from more than 20 women to enter the infantry and armory branches, both of which face the possibility of combat. Finally, some sports news now. Saina Nehwal has entered the semi-finals of the Asia Badminton Championships in China and will take on 6th-seeded Chinese Wang Yihan for a spot in the final today. The world number 8 Indian defeated former world champion Xishan Wang of China in straight games 21-16, 21-19 in a quarterfinal that lasted 56 minutes. In the opening game, Saina held a narrow 11-10 before winning 4 straight points. Wang narrowed back to lead to a point at 16-17, but Saina pocketed the next 4 points to take the game home. Now, the second game moved neck to neck till 19-19 before 2 errors by the Chinese handed Saina the win. Saina is the only Indian left in the tournament and will next take on the winner of the match between Japan's Nozomi Okuhara and China's Yihan Wang. That's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a good day.